Welcome to the MS&Me Radio Network, a division of the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network. The following program broadcast is an original creation by the broadcast entity. Discussion within the following broadcast should be used for informational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice or consultation. Before considering application of any broadcast content in the following program, please consult your healthcare provider. If you feel you are having a medical emergency, please contact your local health services for immediate assistance. MS&Me Media and the Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network do not guarantee or warrant the accuracy of information in the broadcast to follow. The Multiple Sclerosis Global Support Network provisions broadcast services to program hosts. Information discussed in the broadcast does not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or goals of the network and are solely those of the show broadcast host. Should you wish to host a broadcast, please visit our website at msmemedia.com and submit a request to become a program host. We thank you for listening to the MS&Me Radio Network. Enjoy the show.
Hi, I'm back with the Positively Different MS show, all the way from Scotland here in the United Kingdom, with news, information, positivity and a different perspective on living life with MS and indeed of living life itself, regardless of the circumstances you find yourself in and around you. We can all look at different things and try to be positive despite what we are faced with. My name is Patricia Geigen. I'm an author, a mum, a radio host and a person of positivity. My debut book, Born Together, was released in May this year. It shares my journey and the many positive tools I have found to manage my MS to the best of my ability. The Positively Different MS show focuses on my MS jigsaw, which I have created over the last 11 years, putting together all the pieces I have tried and tested to help me keep living well, keep feeling good and keep on achieving. It would be disingenuous to suggest that the MS jigsaw allows me to always feel well and always feel good. That is just simply not the case. Times are tough for me right now with my MS and being oh so lucky to be at that time in my life where I'm in the menopause. My body is just not cooperating as I want it to. But that's actually the time I need my MS jigsaw most, and I will try to use some of the more nourishing pieces of the jigsaw, like earthing, which has that replenishing therapeutic connection with the earth and the ocean. I am also having acupuncture at the moment. Twice a week I am trying to rest and recover, do some gentle yoga and not forgetting the importance of some meditation time and some me time. I have had to make sure all my supplements are on target and all working together to try to get my body working better. My whole approach in life with MS is not to wait for a cure or to share the top 10 things to do to put your MS in remission. It just didn't work out that way for me and my disease, despite the fact I work really hard at it and all the aspects and ideas that are around to overcome MS. For me, life with MS is about moving forward with the disease and trying to reach my own individual optimum health. I suppose it is the same in all walks of life, with or without MS. We can all try to reach our own optimum through what we do and how we live. I remember recently just having a casual chat with Lorraine Hudson, the spiritual healer here on this show, and after learning about my MS jigsaw, she immediately stopped and said, "We all need a life jigsaw with all the pieces that will get us where we need to go." I have to say I agreed with her. Everyone has something going on, feelings, experiences that influence our journeys through this life. A life jigsaw would be a plan and a support network for everyone. I have gathered all the things I need to navigate my journey through life and to take me to a better, happier place. Think about it, couldn't we all benefit from looking after ourselves in the same way and looking at what would meet all our needs? This week's show has a slightly different format. We will hear an interview from a very successful actor here in Scotland, Alison Peebles. Alison was diagnosed with primary progressive MS at the age of 46. She has had this for 18 years now. But despite this and the many obstacles and challenges she has faced throughout those years with MS, Alison has continued with her acting career as well as a directing career. Fine achievements, I have to say, for anyone, but the fact that Alison has continued with her successful career throughout the years living with this difficult and demanding disease is to me an outstanding achievement. I have huge respect and admiration for Alison, and I most definitely look up to her. I met her during my treatment time with RoboPhysio, which we heard about last week on the show. Margaret Ann went along to meet Alison and chat with her, and without saying any more, I'll hand over to them now.
Hi, can you give us a bit of background on your journey with multiple sclerosis?
Well, I was first diagnosed unofficially in 6th of October 1999, imprinted on my memory. I was rehearsing a play at the theatre, and I was also directing another play, and I was worried I might be getting shingles because I was so stressed. I was like going, oh my goodness, and that's what I was thinking. And then I started, when the play I was doing was, it was very physical, and I had a lot of very fast costume changes, and I fell over a few times. I was rehearsals and I fell over a few times, and I felt extremely tired. I felt like exhaustion like I'd never felt before, and I started to feel tingling and all this kind of stuff. And I started to think, oh my goodness, because my father had MS, and I knew that tingling and numbness and all this kind of stuff. And then I had the MS corset, the kind of sort of like the iron corset round from your chest down to your hips type thing. I said to stage manager, what happens when you've got like this? And she was like, theatre doctor. And I went to the theatre doctor, just a GP who will take you in, an ordinary GP. And they said, and she did all these physical tests and all these kind of things, asked her about my background, all those kind of things, and then she said, I'm sorry to say, and I shouldn't say this because you need to have proper official diagnosis, but I think that you have got MS, and I just burst into tears. So from that, it took 18 months to get the official diagnosis. And I suppose at that time, before I got that diagnosis, I just kind of thought, no, it's not MS, I'm just thinking that because I'm a dad. And so really, by the time I was diagnosed, I was like, when they told me in a brutal fashion, as it was their wont, which is a whole other story, everybody's got their diagnosis stories. I mean, the first thing I did was change my neurologist because he was, I didn't have any more tears to cry. So from that was just that slow reality of what is that going to mean,
So what changes has MS made to your journey through your life?
Well, I suppose the first thing is that because I've got primary progressive MS, I don't have relapses and remission. It's a sort of slow progression. Well, thankfully, touch wood and all that, it is a slow progression. So I didn't know what that was going to be, but it was the sort of feeling that everything, I think the biggest thing that happens is as the MS progresses, it takes away more and more of your spontaneity, and that everything you do, you have to think about and decide, because you're balancing what you can manage. You have to manage your fatigue, so you have to balance what you can do in a day with your work, your life, domestic, social, all that stuff. And I think that's the biggest thing. And I think one of the things that I know has happened is my life has shrunk in that way, and that socially what would happen is that people would phone you up and ask, so, do you want to come to such and such, such and such? And you go, oh yeah, and then you just can't face it, or you don't have the energy. So that has had a big impact. It's had a huge impact on my work as an actor and as a director, because I actually made a feature film when I'd already been diagnosed when I directed a feature film, but after that I just thought I can't. It's not because I couldn't do the its actual work on the set and the directing and all that. It was the actual. It's just not relevant probably, but trying to get a film off the ground or trying to get something off the ground was the hardest thing because it requires a huge amount of energy.
So much energy, yeah. Are there any treatments or therapies that have worked for you with primary progressive MS?
Well, I tried lots of different. People are always phoning you up or telling you this, that, and the next thing, or this new drug, there's this new cure, there's this, all this kind of stuff, and then most of the time it might be, maybe it'll work in 15 years, but it's not relevant. One thing that has really helped me, continues to help me, and has had a significant effect and impact on my MS, it slowed down the progression, is the treatment I've been getting from Chong Soo Lee, which started off with the Korean Physiotherapy Centre, and then it's now called
Pakla Medical Centre
or RoboPhysio, because that treatment has just, and it's not an immediate cure or immediate fix. It's a slow but definite help. And before I started going to menopause, it was like, after about 8 weeks or something, I was like, my sleeping, or not even after 8 weeks, my sleeping improved after a couple of sessions. I had the best quality, even though I kept waking up still, the best quality of sleep I'd had since I was about a child. I just couldn't believe it. My posture, my energy, my balance, everything improved and has continued to improve, or has got to a level of improvement that is like, my people that knew me would go, oh my God, it's, I'm not, it's not, it can't cure the damage that's been done, but there's a lot of stuff that can totally help, and it's completely slowed down the progression.
Well, that's really hopeful for people to hear, and Chong Soo was actually on last week's show, so it's nice to hear the impact on someone's day-to-day living.
Yeah.
What can you share with listeners to encourage them to keep believing and striving to achieve despite multiple sclerosis?
I think you have to, obviously if you're newly diagnosed, it's a massive shock. It's very upsetting, and it's kind of how you're going to cope. But I think you have to really, once you sort of go through that, I think you have to try and keep doing what you're doing. I think one thing I would say is keep working if you can. If you've got a job that you can keep working at. I know it's different with relapse remitting if you've got you have bad times and everything, but I would think that that's really important. It's good for your psychology, psychologically, emotionally, mentally, and everything. Even though it might tire you out, it's a different kind of tiredness. It's really important, I think, to keep doing that. I think it's really important. I wish I'd kept up. I used to do yoga and Pilates. I stopped doing that. I stopped going to classes because my balance was so bad, and and I just sort of felt, oh gosh, no, they start treating you like, well, not that they're treating you badly or anything else. They're going, no, well, you can use this chair, you can sit out for this one, and you go, I don't want to, and so you stop doing that. I wish I'd kept that going, because I think these things are really important. I do Qigong now, which is a form of Tai Chi, and that is fantastic for strength, for your balance, for suppleness. I think things like that are really important. I think to try and keep to keep believing in not letting that define you as a person. It's like who you are, and you've got this thing, and you've got to find a way around it, and just keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah. Brilliant advice, because it's about making sure your mind's active but doing something that you're enjoying.
Yes.
So, but obviously there would be bad days with the MS, and in what ways do you cope with things on those days?
Well, I don't have bad days like with people with relapse remitting, because I have primary progressive, but I do have days when I feel more exhausted and everything, and if I've just done a job, because I work from contract to contract, hopefully, as an actor and a director when I work, I will just crash out at the end of that. Because it's very, very demanding physically, cognitively, and all the rest of it. But so I find it hard to get out of bed on bad days, and even good days I find it hard to get out of bed, because it takes away your motivation. and that's what I find really. I think the cognitive things are quite difficult to deal with. I find that is a real issue, and sometimes I just I can't get out of my bed, so I just give in to it, and the difficulty with that is that it can make you more depressed, because it's a kind of circular thing, that if you're lying in bed then you get more depressed, and then you think, I shouldn't be doing this and all that. So that's kind of what happens on bad days.
Do you have any final thoughts that you'd like to share with our listeners?
Yeah, I think one of the things I do, I think keeping in touch with people. I allowed a lot of time when I was, as my MS progressed, I would be, I can't do this, I can't do that, and I think that becomes a habit. I think you have to be really. I would be sort of saying, no, don't let things become a habit. Like say, no, I'm not going to go to this event or party or do such and such, and then you stop doing it and it becomes a self-serving thing. I think you have to try and keep doing that. The other thing I would say is that you have to keep trying to keep as mobile as possible for as long as possible, even though it's difficult. It's just trying to keep going as much as you can.
I think it's a key message just coming across, is live your life and don't let MS define your life. That's brilliant. Thanks a lot for that, Alison. Thank you.
That was both humbling and inspiring listening to Alison chat with Margaret Ann. Alison is an award-winning actor and feature film director. I can only imagine how tough and resilient you need to be to do such jobs, and to do so with MS. Alison really defines the phrase I use often to describe coping and overcoming, and that is to keep on keeping on. I thank Alison greatly for talking to us. To successfully juggle primary progressive MS with acting, directing, writing, TV, film and theatre is an incredible achievement. Her determination is an inspiration to us all not to let MS take from us the thing that we want, and that we can find different ways to achieve. That leads me very nicely on to the mantra I live by, that we can find a way.com. This was coined in the early days of MS as I struggled to do some things and had to look to find new ways to do old things. I really do urge people to think about this. In all walks of life, you will come across challenges, obstacles and adversity. For me, it comes down to whether we accept we cannot do something or manage something, or we work out how to overcome the obstacle, no matter what that means. And that's when we have to find a way to do the things we used to be able to do, and to do them differently. I have had to sit down and bump down stairs when there were no railings or supports. In the cinema, as an example, it was the only way to get down the stairs safely without fuss or attention. There have been other occasions when I have made prior arrangements in order to make access to an event and full participation possible. For example, going to a comedy show, going to a restaurant. It took me some time to come to the point I felt comfortable and confident to reach out for support and ask for priority access and such like. But goodness me, since I have been able to get to that point, I have made such a positive difference to my life. And it was all about putting my needs just a little bit higher up than I had ever done before. I stopped trying to force myself to fit in with everybody and what everyone else was doing, and I stopped putting so much pressure on myself and my body. I needed to find a way, so I had to start thinking outside the box. I often, and I do mean often, stop when I am faced with an obstacle and think of my options before I make my move to overcome the challenge I am faced with. This goes the same for planning a trip or organising something I am going to do. I'll use my book launch for my debut book, Born Together, earlier this year in May as an example. I had to make sure I included everyone that was coming along and that the event accommodated their needs. That obviously includes me. I was told initially by the venue that everything would be fine, don't worry about it, as they run events like that all the time. But that just wasn't good enough for me. It was simple things like making sure there was a lift. There were railings and banisters throughout, and I do mean throughout, to allow independence for people like myself. Such a simple thing, but so often overlooked. There needed to be an accessible toilet on the same floor that required little effort and mobility to get in. Appropriate seating throughout, with plenty of space for rest, snacks and drink to accommodate all dietary requirements, and not too much background noise. Some may say all of that was a tall order, but personally I think it was no great deal to make sure everyone's needs were met and that people's independence was supported. Meeting requirements and needs should be part of everyday life for everyone, not an afterthought or something we need to be made to feel that people are having to go to great effort to include us. Just because we have a different need, we are all equals and deserve the right to be included. Going back to the wecanfindaway.com concept, we really can find a way through things if we start with ourselves and we remember always to make provisions to include others in what we do. If we then take steps to ensure that we are included in everyday activities, for example, school life, going to concerts, restaurants, we need to make planning and arrangements and alerting others to our needs a habit, an everyday habit. I use a planning framework from my teaching days. Think, plan, organise and do. It very much applies to life now, just like it did back in the classroom, and to be honest, it applies in all walks of life on how to move forward. I use the think, plan, organise, do formula for much of my life with MS. It may seem a bother to begin with, but once it becomes a habit and you can see the results and how much it improves your quality of life and that of those around you, then it can become something you do regularly and routinely. Think, plan, organise and do helps me to find a way through the challenges of MS. I've done some strange things, had some strange looks, most certainly laughed more than I have cried, but I have yet to be beaten with this formula. We need to adapt and adapt some more. We need to never give up and find ways to overcome obstacles. It may be tough at times, but it can be done. Just like Alison Peebles has told us and explained in her interview, she has done so much to overcome in order to continue her career in acting and directing. So remember, together we really can find a way.com. And now I'll hand you over to my son Elliot, and he'll tell you how he finds a way through problems and adversity that come along his way.
Well, the way I find ways through adversity is, the tips I've got is don't dream, don't say, why is this happening to me? Why is it always me? You can think about how you want to change it, but don't give yourself self-pity or give whoever it's happening to or whatever self-pity. Just focus on what you want to do and your aim. And with that, my mentality and my mum's mentality is what's going to make us successful. So, well, just keep pushing through is my tips, and that's it. So just keep pushing through and just keep going. Just keep going.
Thank you, Elliot. Thank you very much. This week's positive tip fits very well with this week's theme. Put yourself and your needs higher up the ranking when making decisions and living life. It's taken me a long time to get there, so I'm not suggesting it is straightforward. I tried to live my life for many years, not allowing MS any place in it. As a mum, I put my son's needs first. I tried to make sure everyone in the family was living life just as they would have pre-MS. I didn't want to be the one to put a dampener on things, so I kept going and doing all the things I did in life before I got MS. But as time has gone on, I really got to know the new me with multiple sclerosis, and I decided I wanted to be kinder to her. After all, it was the same me inside this body. I was kind to myself before MS, and really it wasn't fair to keep punishing myself by putting my needs to the bottom of the pile for something that I had no responsibility over and no say in. It was simple things like taking 5 minutes to myself just to be me, or about taking the whole afternoon to go for a swim to try and improve my circulation, my well-being. No one has stopped me doing these things before except myself, and feeling guilty that I wasn't around to do things for Elliot and put his needs first. It was about stopping making dinner for birthday parties and Christmas for 8 to 9 people. To be honest, I had done my turn of those things over many years and didn't want to do them anymore, but I was worried, oh silly me, that others would think I couldn't do them because I had MS, rather than the fact that I didn't want to do them anymore. It was time to become a lot kinder to myself, to stop worrying about what other people thought. I have realised that these were negative thoughts, and I have the power to choose my thoughts and to change my way of thinking. So now I make better choices and have my own needs higher up the ranking order. Simple things like my best energy and enthusiasm is early in the day. As the day goes on, I fade, my enthusiasm wanes. It's not a bad thing, it's not a negative, it's just my reality with MS. So any friends who want to meet me and catch up, it's lunchtime or early evening. It's as simple as that if they want to meet my needs. Any celebrations at the house are early evening with an early finish, with finger foods and no additional work for me. Simple small changes to be kinder to myself and to put my needs up there equal to others. Why don't you try it? Just small changes to start with. Think about what you need that day and try to give it to yourself, no doubting you deserve it, and most people will be more than happy to put in around what works better for you. And if they don't, then you've just found out who your friends are, and that's not a bad thing either. I have a very small team of friends and family around me, but it's a tight team and I have all that I need. Think about it and think about you. MS may have brought changes to you and your body and your life, but it's still the same you underneath. So dig deep and find him or her and be kinder to yourself. Put your needs out there, because you are just as important as anyone else. Don't be afraid to say what it is you need. Adapting should be part of all of our lives, as should be celebrating difference. And now we'll have Lorraine Hudson, our spiritual healer, will read today's quote by Nelson Mandela.
The greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and until next week, as always, positive thoughts, and remember, together we can find a way.